Okay, let's just imagine for a second that a bombshell announcement drops, one that could totally rewrite the history of ancient Egypt as we know it. A research team comes forward and says they've found something absolutely incredible. Not in the pyramids, but deep, deep underneath them. So, let's dive into what on earth that could mean.
I mean, this is a question that has fueled speculation for centuries, right? But what if we actually have data now that suggests it's true? What if the very ground beneath the Giza Plateau is hiding a secret that's way older and way more complex than any of us ever imagined?
All right, so here's the core of the claim. There's this Italy-based research team. They're calling themselves the Khafre SAR Project, and they've used satellite data to peer beneath the Pyramid of Khafre. And what they say they found? Well, it's nothing short of astonishing.
And it's the specifics that make this so compelling. They're not just talking about some vague anomaly. No, they claim to have pinpointed 5 chambers right inside the pyramid's base. They're calling them djed chambers. You know the djed symbol? It looks like a pillar, and it represents the backbone of the god Osiris. But then it gets even crazier. They're reporting 8 enormous wells drilled deep into the bedrock, each one with a spiral path, all leading down to 2 massive chambers at the bottom.
And just to really wrap your head around the scale of this, look at that number. 648 meters. That is almost half a mile deep. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That's deeper than some of the world's tallest skyscrapers are tall. It's just an absolutely staggering depth.
So, okay, this is the crucial part, their interpretation. The team believes this is not just some random collection of shafts. They've actually connected it to the legendary halls of Amenti, the mythological Egyptian underworld. We could be talking about a potential underground city hidden for thousands of years.
But wait a second. How on earth could they see all this from space? That's the big question, right? Well, the answer lies in some seriously powerful technology.
It's a technology called Synthetic Aperture Radar, or SAR for short. And in simple terms, it's a way for satellites to beam radar signals down that can actually penetrate the ground. By analyzing how those signals bounce back, scientists can build a picture of what's down there. They can see what's dense rock and, more importantly, where there might be empty spaces. And this really breaks down the process. The satellite sends a signal down, it bounces back up, and then powerful computers translate that echo into a kind of color-coded map. Think of it like this. Blue means solid, dense rock, but the warmer colors, your yellows, reds, greens, those can signal hollows, cavities, voids. And that's what the Khafre Project team says they've found.
Okay, but you know what they say. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So, of course, as soon as this news broke, other researchers and experts started to scrutinize the findings, and they brought a very necessary dose of skepticism to the table.
And this is where we hit the main counter-argument. Critics immediately started questioning the interpretation of the data. They said, look, while this team sees man-made megastructures, couldn't these anomalies just be natural? Things like caves, faults, and fissures in the bedrock.
And here's that alternative theory in a nutshell. Matt Simpson points out that what the SAR data is picking up might not be man-made at all. I mean, the Giza Plateau is known to be just riddled with natural cracks, caves, and fissures in the limestone. So could these massive structures simply be geology?
Now, this is a really crucial point because the idea of something being under Giza isn't actually new. Not at all. There's a documented, known underworld there that provides some fascinating context for all these new claims.
I mean, go all the way back to 1977. Researchers detected anomalies under Khafre's pyramid even then. More recently, in 2007, satellite images showed these strange linear features pointing right towards it. And then, in 2008, explorers physically went inside a huge cave system nearby, getting in through a place called the Tomb of the Birds.
So this is where we find a little bit of common ground. Whether you think these new claims are man-made megastructures or just natural formations, pretty much everyone agrees that they're likely connected to this already known and very real cave system. All right, but this is where the story takes another big turn, moving away from geology and into a far, far more ancient history. Because what if these structures, if they are real, were built by a civilization that predates the pharaohs entirely?
Get this. Ancient Egyptian texts themselves talk about a massive cataclysm that wiped out a sophisticated elder culture.
Some researchers actually connect this to a real climate event, the Younger Dryas, way back around 10,800 BCE. Now, what's really interesting is that right after this period, an incredible culture known as the Taş Tepeler pops up in what's now Turkey. These are the people who built jaw-dropping sites like Göbekli Tepe. And here's the potential smoking gun. A very specific type of arrowhead they used, called the Helwan point, has also been found in Egypt. That suggests a real connection between these ancient peoples.
And to add another layer to this ancient connection, we have historical records of pilgrims coming from that exact same region of Turkey and traveling to Giza. And they specifically venerated the second pyramid as the Tomb of Hermes, or Thoth as the Egyptians called him, the god of wisdom and the keeper of records. It really makes you wonder, did they know something that we've forgotten?
Okay, now we get to what might be the most mind-bending part of this entire puzzle. And that's the possibility that these alleged physical structures are a direct physical reflection of ancient Egypt's deepest, most profound creation myths.
Remember that number from the initial claim, 8 cylindrical wells? I want you to keep that number 8 in your head because it is the absolute key to this final, fascinating layer of the mystery.
So, in one of Egypt's oldest creation myths, the one from the city of Hermopolis, the universe began with 8 primeval gods. They were known as the Ogdoad. They were 4 male-female pairs who existed in this primordial chaos before creation even began, and they represented the fundamental forces of the universe, things like the primordial waters, darkness, and hidden power.
And here it is. This is the stunning parallel. The Khafre SAR Project claims to have found 8 wells, existing in total darkness, deep underground, which almost certainly would have interacted with the Giza water table. Could this be a physical representation of the 8 Ogdoad gods existing in the primordial waters of Noon before creation? I mean, like a blueprint of a myth, literally carved into the bedrock.
So where does all this leave us? Well, on the one hand, we absolutely have to remain skeptical. This data needs to be made transparent, it needs to be verified by other scientists. But on the other hand, you just can't deny that the potential connections between these satellite anomalies, the known caves of Giza, and the very foundation of Egyptian mythology, it's all incredibly tantalizing.
So in the end, what are we really looking at here? A trick of the light in some satellite data? A vast but natural cave system? Or could it be the faint echo of a lost chapter of human history, where myth was literally made manifest in stone? The one thing that seems certain is that the secrets of Giza may run far, far deeper than any of us ever imagined.